everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Tonight I've got something special. So I just went and saw the 11 o'clock p.m. showing on opening night of The Rise of Skywalker of Star Wars. And I'm going to give my honest review and opinion of the movie. And without spoiling anything here at the beginning, and I will, there will be spoilers ahead, but I will, don't worry, it's going to come up on the screen before there's spoilers. So you can listen to this part right here without any spoilers given. So, it's a great movie, man. In my opinion, it was a great movie. It was a great ending to the epic saga, and I don't think the critics watched the same movie that I did, because critics' reviews haven't been that great for the movie, but I really don't know what they saw. I'm not going to say that it was the best movie of the saga. It's somewhere in the middle, but it was a great ending. So I'm going to give my honest review of it and go over a lot of the parts of the movie here. So right now, we're going to count down, and there's going to be spoilers here in just a moment. So if you don't want to be spoiled by anything for the movie, please turn this off. Don't watch this if you don't want to be spoiled. So, we'll count down right now. Okay, if you're still here, that means that you want to hear it, all right? So I also want to tell you guys, I don't usually do a lot of movie reviews. I never do any on the channel. Typically, my thing that I do on the channel is gaming and MLB The Show primarily. But if you guys like this and you want me to do more of these, let me know in the comments what you guys think, all right? I'm really interested to hear your opinions on what you think. So please, let me know. Here we go, man. Here's a quick breakdown of it, all right? So the first 45 minutes of the movie is... and spoilers ahead, right here, okay? If the first 45 minutes is a little bit hit or miss, okay? There's a lot of action. It's a lot of bouncing back and forth action sequences, and they really just get right into the movie immediately. The movie starts, and almost immediately you get Kylo Ren going to see the Emperor, and he has found the Emperor, and it's pretty crazy. And he's got this little thing plugged in that you see to his starfighter, and you see him going to go hunt down the Emperor and find him. And when he gets there, and you've seen it in a couple of the clips in the trailers, he is very the Emperor's in his head, and he starts talking his voice, saying that he was Snoke all along. He was the voice of Vader that he heard through the helmet, through Vader's helmet. He has been the voice inside him this entire time, trying to convince him to become a Sith and go to the dark side. All right, and he informs him when he does find the Emperor of his final plan, his grand plan. And the Emperor's hooked up to these machines and kind of plugged in and stuff. And his eyes are not existent. His eyes are rolled in the back of his head. It's just the whites of his eyes. It's all you can see. Pretty crazy. And he's missing a couple of his fingers even. It's kind of weird on both hands. I think one finger on each hand it looked like, or I may be wrong on that, but it looked like at least one finger I know on the one hand was down to one digit or something on it. So it was kind of crazy. He informs him of his grand plan, which is the last order strike, or the final order, but he calls it the last order. And it's this fleet of Star Destroyers, and the fleet you've seen in the trailers, it's insane. It's incredible. There's so many of them. You don't know how they're going to do it, and they all have those Star Killer weapons attached to each one of them as well. We find out later on. But he informs him of his plan. He tells Kylo that he needs to hunt down and kill Rey. And Rey is still doing her training. She's been training with Leia, who we still see. Great to see Carrie Fisher still in the movie. Obviously, she passed away before the movie was released, of course, and made and filmed. So they took old footage of her and put it in that they had that JJ, I believe, had filmed and had from The Force Awakens when he had done that, is what I'd heard. So some of it's probably digitized, I assume, as well. But it's seamless. You couldn't tell. So it was really great. You see her completing her training. They find out that Kylo has found this transmission because there is a spy. There's a mole in the First Order. Kylo Ren, the Supreme Leader, Kylo Ren, is trying to hunt down Rey at the same time. So they get some information from this mole that there is a way to find Palpatine, and it's through this thing called a Sith Wayfinder. All right, and apparently there's only 2 of them in the world that were created. Kylo had one. That was the little thing that was plugged in as he was going to find the Emperor. And it was nuts, man. Like so a lot of the movie is based around them trying to find the other Sith Wayfinder, so that Rey and the Resistance can track down and kill and take out Emperor Palpatine. But Rey is battling with her own kind of inner demons, I guess you could say, throughout the movie. And as we find out later on, I feel that it was probably Emperor Palpatine that was really playing into her role with all that. Anyway, they end up on this planet where there's like this big celebration, this big party celebration that apparently only happens every 42 years. Kind of coincidental, since the saga is 42 years old. So we do find that out, and Kylo ends up tracking her down on this planet where they're trying to get I guess the map to the other Sith Wayfinder. And when he finds her, it's the scene that we see where she does the backflip over Kylo Ren's starfighter. And she does the backflip, and when she does, she takes off one of the wings of it, and which apparently gets repaired later in the movie. I guess that was kind of weird because they didn't show any of that, and I don't know if it was repairable. Whatever, neither here nor there. Those little things sometimes you just got to let go in a movie and just let your mind believe that it happened in some weird way, shape, or form. So, but that happens, and at the same time, the Knights of Ren are also on this planet here with Kylo, and they take Chewie into custody. Man, they get Chewie, and we finally see Lando again on this planet as well for the first time. So that was great to see. But when that happens, when they get Chewie, they take off in this transport ship, and Rey reaches out with the Force and tries to bring down and bring it back the ship. And Kylo, standing, I don't know, a couple hundred yards away from her, maybe 100 yards away from her, is doing the same thing, trying to let the ship fly. And when it happens, eventually Rey ends up shooting lightning out of her hands, and it hits the ship. And she let the Force, I guess, get the better part of her and didn't have control of it. And when she does, she explodes the ship and it blows up. And you think for a moment that Chewie's dead. All right. It turns out, thankfully, Chewie's not dead. He was on another transport ship, so that was good. You know, who wants Chewie here to die? Nobody wants Chewie to die. Chewie's a beloved character. We don't want that to happen. So it was a great thing to find out he was still alive. And anyway, they think they get the map to the Wayfinder eventually. They find out that they have to go back to Endor, I believe is where it was, and that's where the Death Star has crashed. And we've seen the Death Star in the ocean in the crashing waves throughout some of the trailers and stuff. And so they find out that they have this spot there that is in the ship where Rey has to go, and she has to track down the Wayfinder. Anyway, she gets to the Wayfinder. She finds it. When she does find it, she picks it up, and when she picks it up, she sees the dark Rey. She has a force flashback or a force flash or something, and she sees the dark Rey right in front of her. And she pulls out the two-sided lightsaber that she unfolds, and they have a quick little battle just for a few seconds. It's really not long at all. And when she does get knocked back, Kylo is standing right behind her. And through this whole period of time, Kylo and her have been connected in the Force, even more so than we saw in The Last Jedi. Now it appears that they can pass objects to each other through their flashes that they see through the Force. So that's kind of weird. It's a new Force power that we haven't really seen before, but pretty crazy. And then they end up having a big battle on the Death Star, Death Star 2. And they have this huge battle, which is epic. It's a great battle scene. And by the end of it, Rey kills Kylo. She kills Kylo. She puts the lightsaber right through his chest, kills him. But as we've seen in The Mandalorian, spoiler warning for The Mandalorian, if you haven't seen episode 7 of The Mandalorian, you might want to skip ahead about 30, 45 seconds in the video here. Just like Baby Yoda healed somebody in that, now apparently Rey has that Force power too. She heals Kylo Ren and she brings him back to life. and it repairs the hole that the lightsaber had created in his chest. And it was pretty nuts, man. And at that point, Rey leaves. Rey gets in Kylo's ship and takes off because he has the other Wayfinder. That Wayfinder she had found on the Death Star, Kylo crushed it. Kylo crushed it and destroyed it. So she thought there was no way to be able to find the Emperor at that point. And so she hops in his ship and takes off to go find the Emperor using the same Wayfinder he had used at the beginning of the movie. I apologize if it's a little confusing. It was a little confusing to watch, too, at some points, but it's one of those you have to see twice, really, at least, to, I think, to grasp everything that you saw. And I did just see it, so, like, it's all fresh in the brain right now, but it's all a little bit of a jumbled mess, so I apologize. But she ends up taking off to go find the Emperor. We flash back to Kylo getting up on the Death Star, too, and he's standing at the edge of it, and we hear a very familiar voice. It's his father, Han Solo. And he appears as he projects him, I guess, his memory of him. And we kind of relive the scene where he kills Han Solo in The Force Awakens. But this time, Kylo is saved and redeemed. I guess when Rey healed him, she instilled the good in him again, kind of like how Luke did with Vader. And he takes his lightsaber and throws it into the ocean. He takes the red sworded lightsaber and throws it into the ocean, and gets rid of it. And so Rey at this point is she takes off to go find, like I said, the Emperor. She does end up, actually, we thought she was going to find the Emperor. At first, she ends up going back to Acto. I think I might be saying it wrong, but Acto, where Luke and the Jedi Temple was, and we see her burning Kylo Ren's starfighter or TIE fighter, whatever, and she's burning it, and she goes to throw the lightsaber into the fire, and the ghost of Luke Skywalker catches it and tells her that a Jedi's weapon is to be respected more than this. Anyway, he tells her that the Force is in her, and she has the power of the Force, and because the Wayfinder she thinks has been destroyed because she was burning the ship. There's no way to find the Emperor, but he tells her she needs to, and she has everything she has to do it. She reaches into the TIE fighter and grabs it, Kylo's fighter, and pulls it out, and takes off on her way to go find him. But in this process, Luke also gives Rey Leia's lightsaber. All right, Leia's lightsaber, also a blue blade. He gives her Leia's lightsaber. She has both sabers. She's got them both on her belt, on her clip. And anyway, she goes off to go hunt down the Emperor. When she gets there, we assume at this point Kylo's probably coming too. He's been redeemed. He's no longer Kylo Ren. He is now Ben Skywalker, period. And or Ben Solo, excuse me. And but so we assume he's going to be there. Anyway, when she gets there to the Emperor tells her that this was his plan the entire time. It was to bring her there to him. We have found out along the way, by the way, she's Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter. I think I skipped that part. I think you could see that coming after the Force lightning moment when she almost blew up the ship Chewie was in. But she is his granddaughter. His son was her father. Her parents were just scavengers. They dropped her off on Jakku to try to protect her and try to save her. They didn't just leave her there. So the story wasn't what exactly we heard in The Last Jedi. But when she gets there, she is set to destroy Palpatine because that's what he tells her must happen, and she must take over the throne and become the new Empress of the Last Order. And she senses that Kylo is there because Kylo shows up out of nowhere in a regular TIE fighter, I might add. He ends up showing up. And she takes, by the way, when she flies there, she takes Luke's X-Wing that was buried on Acto in the water because Luke raised it up. So that's how she got there to the Emperor. Sorry I'm jumping around. I apologize, but it's all jumbled right now. So I'm trying to cover everything. But anyway, so she's about to destroy him, but she senses Kylo's there. They kind of have that inner Force connection happen again. And she puts the lightsaber behind her head like she's going to strike Palpatine. And I guess through their connection, he reached out and grabbed it from her. And now he holds the lightsaber of the Skywalkers, of Luke and Vader, of Anakin. And now starts to attack the Knights of Ren who had tried to kill him. and she has to go into battle as well. They're passing enemies through the Force back and forth to each other. It's kind of crazy. It's a crazy battle sequence. They end up side by side, though, at the very end, where Palpatine realizes that the two of them hold this power together that is crazy. And he actually steals their power, and they both fall and collapse. Palpatine then gets in these robes. He's in these like new robes now. His eyes are the yellow that we remember from the original trilogy, and he's got like this immense amount of power. Meanwhile, above him, the Resistance is trying to strike and take down all of these Star Destroyers, but they don't have a lot of a fleet yet, and so it's kind of crazy. But he shoots lightning up into the sky because he has his full amount of power again. He is the Emperor we all know as the all-powerful Emperor, but even more powerful now because he feels he's stolen the power from them. And it's kind of crazy. He shoots the lightning up into the sky, tries to take down all these ships. The fleet has come in. We see in the one trailer where there's just thousands of Resistance ships that end up coming in to attack all these Star Destroyers as well. Or excuse me, I guess the Sith Destroyers, I guess we could call them. But kind of crazy stuff. And they pan over to Rey. She's laying there, and her eyes, they come over across her eyes, and she sees that she has the power, and starts to hear voices from the other Jedis. We finally do hear Anakin's voice. We hear Obi-Wan's voice. We hear Luke's voice. We hear Yoda's voice. There was a couple. We hear Leia's voice. There was a couple others in there that I'm not sure who they were. I'd have to go back and rewatch it again to find out who all the voices were. But there was, I believe, some other Jedi's voices that we did hear in there in the mix, which was kind of crazy. In this process, Kylo had gotten up, or excuse me, Ben had gotten up at this point, and Kylo shot him off the cliff, like of this planet where they're at, and we thought he might be dead at that point. Turns out he isn't. Anyway, but Rey, we'll get to that in a second. But Rey stands up, and she realizes she has the power of all of the Jedis in her. Palpatine shoots Force lightning at her, and she blocks it with the lightsaber, and she's got it blocked. And then she goes and draws the other lightsaber, Leia's she's got Leia's and both Luke's lightsaber. She crosses them in a cross pattern, and she's blocking the Force lightning. And it starts to shoot back at Palpatine, and it pretty much disintegrates him. It disintegrates him into non-existence, and he's killed. But the power that it took for Rey to be able to do this kills her. She lies dead on the ground. At that point, we see Ben's hand come up over the cliff, and he climbs up. He finds Rey there. He picks her up. He then uses his Force healing power to bring her back to life. And he's holding her in his arms. And she kisses him. She finally kisses him. So we finally get the Reylo scene that we've all been, I guess, clamoring for years. So they kiss. They share a moment. And then the power that it took for Ben to bring her back to life kills him. It kills Ben. Ben disappears. Kylo Ren disappears right there in front of her. And just like Luke did at the end of Last Jedi. And he's gone. He's gone. He's now a Force ghost, apparently, at that point. Kind of crazy. Didn't see that coming. And so that was kind of nuts. But really, those are the only deaths that we get as far as major characters go throughout the movie. But anyway, she does this. The Resistance fleet takes out all the Star Destroyers. We get to the end kind of scene of the movie. And I'm flashing ahead just a little bit here because there was just some hugging scenes and all that stuff throughout it. But when we get to the very end, the way they end the saga is Rey goes back to Tatooine, and she goes back to the home of Luke Skywalker. And what she does is she takes the two lightsabers after walking around a little bit. She takes Luke and Leia's lightsabers. When using the Force, she buries them in the sand, and then she pulls up and holds her own new lightsaber, turns it on, because this woman calls out behind her. She didn't know who it was, and it's yellow. She's got a yellow blade. So the first new colored lightsaber we've seen in a very long time. I don't recall ever seeing another yellow one. You guys let me know in the comments if you've ever seen another one in any of the movies. It may have happened in the comics or in something that's canon, but I haven't seen one. And it's a really cool looking lightsaber. I've got to get a better shot of it to see what it is. I didn't put pictures up in the movie because I didn't want to get copyright stricken on some of this stuff. But amazing scene. And she tells the woman, asks her what her name is because nobody's been there in a long time. And she says Rey. And she says, Rey what? Or Rey who? And when she turns around, she looks and she sees the Force ghost of Luke and Leia standing off in the distance. And she turns to the woman and says, Rey Skywalker. So that is the rise of Skywalker. She is a Skywalker. And her and BB-8 ride off into the sunset. The two suns, as we see on Tatooine, the famous scene. So that's where the movie ends, right there. So in my opinion, they left it open for a possibility of one day someone returning to Tatooine as Jedis to be able to take those lightsabers back. Money talks, man. Disney, is that who knows? There could be something happen again. It's the end of the Skywalker saga, but it doesn't mean that some of these pieces won't be used, obviously, in future movies. Also, keep in mind, wherever there's Jedi, the power of the Jedi, there always has to be the power of the Sith, because there has to be the balance in the Force maintained. So in my opinion, there's got to be one and the other. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. If you've seen the movie, tell me what you read into it as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the movie. I apologize again if it was a little bit of a jumbled mess. I'm just coming out of it. Literally, it's 2:30 in the morning here right now while I'm making this. So I literally just saw it, and I wanted to share my thoughts and everything on the movie with you guys. And so hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know again in the comments if you guys like the movie review and you want me to do more of these. I see tons of movies, so let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do these in the future again. So you guys do me a favor, as always, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe, it's going this way, subscribe. I always do that. I always get the wrong direction for the camera. But subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks.